Hello, so today we're going to review a little bit for your test 4, and then if you have any questions you can send me an email or we can do our Zoom. So let's look at this one here. I want to graph r equals 3 sine of theta. So this is a polar graph, okay, and so remember sine of theta is either going to open above the x-axis or below the x-axis. And so if A, remember, so if A is greater than 0, it's going to open above. Okay, so this is a positive 3, so it's going to go up 1, 2, 3, up to 3. And then half of 3 will be 1.5. So these values would be about 1.5 here. And then that's where your circle, it's a circle there, will be. Alright, so what about R5 cosine of theta? So cosine is going to either open to the left or to the right. And if A is greater than 0, then it's going to open to the right. Okay, so we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then half of 5 is what, 2.5? So that basically is what that one would look like. Okay. Alright, so let's look here. So find another r theta for the point 5 pi over 6. If r is going to be less than 0, so that means I want to make r negative, and I want theta to lie in between 0 and 2 pi. So if we're going to change the r to a negative, so I'm going to make that a negative 5. If we're going to make it a negative, then we're going to have to add pi to this angle. So when I do that, this will be 6 over 6, so this will be a 7 pi over 6. Good deal. Alright, so when we're looking at polar coordinates and rectangular coordinates, we need to remember all of those equations that I gave you. So it's going to be x is going to be equal to r cosine of theta. Y is going to be equal to r sine of theta. And then remember your x squared plus y squared is equal to your r squared. And then tangent of theta is going to be equal to y over x. So we need to remember those 4 equations. That's going to help us change from rectangular to polar coordinates, from polar to rectangular coordinates, and then change our rectangular equations to polar equations. Okay. So here we want to change to rectangular. So x is going to be r times cosine of theta. So this is your r and this is your theta. So for your x value, it's going to be negative 4 cosine of pi over 2. And then r sine of theta, so it's going to be negative 4 sine of pi over 2. Okay, so this is going to be a 0, right? Because cosine of pi over 2 is 0 and sine of pi over 2 is 1, so this is going to be a negative 4. So it's going to be 0, negative 4. And that's true, remember, so think about this. So how do you plot that? That's a negative 4 pi over 2. So where is 4? Think about that. So 4 pi over 2, but it's negative, so it's going to be down here. And that's exactly what that coordinate would be. Alright, so if I want to convert this to a rectangular equation, I have r is going to be equal to a 4. Okay, so if I was to square both sides, so I would have r squared is equal to a 16. r squared then would be equal to x squared plus y squared. So this would be x squared plus y squared is going to be equal to the 16. Okay. All right, so let's look at this one. So let's remember our equations that we like here. So we've got x is going to be equal to r cosine of theta. Y is going to be equal to r sine of theta. X squared plus y squared is going to be equal to r squared. Tangent theta is going to be y over x. So if I want to convert to a rectangular equation, r cosine of theta. Well, what is r cosine of theta here? It's just going to be a x. So this is just going to be x is going to be equal to a 7. Okay. All right, this one, if I want to convert this polar equation to a rectangular, so I've done a lot of polar, so I've got r squared sine of 2 theta. Well, r squared is r times r. Sine of 2 theta is 2 times sine theta times cosine theta. Right? So I'm going to have 2r sine theta and then times r cosine theta, just like that. R sine of theta is a y. R cosine of theta is a x. So if you solve this equation for y, then you'll divide both sides by 2x. So it's going to be y is going to be equal to 9 over 2x. Yep. All right. So the other thing that we talked about were vectors. And unit vectors, magnitude, finding the magnitude. So if I wanted to find the magnitude of just u right there, I would just say 2 squared plus a negative 5 squared and then take the square root of it. So remember, magnitude is just the distance, the hypotenuse, the distance from the origin. So this one I want to say u plus v, so I want to add these two vectors together. So I want to say u plus v. So remember, you take both of those two parts, and so you'll say 2 plus a negative 3i plus negative 5 plus a 7j, and I'm just adding the parts together. So 2 plus a negative 3 is a negative 1i, and then negative 5 plus a 7 is a 2j. So this vector now from the origin in standard form is going to be negative 1 up to 2. So here is that new vector. So if I wanted to say 4v, that means that I will take 4 and I will multiply it by each part of the vector. So we'll have a negative 12i plus a 21j. I'm sorry, the fire department's about to leave, so they're going to make a lot of noise. All right, and then if I want to find the magnitude of u plus v, I already found u plus v there. So I just need to say the square root of negative 1 squared plus a 2 squared. So this will be a 4 plus a 1, so that'll be square root of 5 will be your magnitude. Good deal? All right, this one I want to find the unit vector that has the same direction as negative 4i minus 3j. So I need to find the magnitude. So remember, we'll say v over the magnitude of v. So I need to find the magnitude first. So the magnitude is going to be a negative 4 squared plus a negative 3 squared. So that'll be 16 plus 9, which is 25, so that will be a 5. So the same direction, so it's going to be negative 4 over 5i minus 3 over 5j. Good deal. And that's got the same direction. Alright, last one. It says write the vector v in terms of I and j whose magnitude v is given and the direction theta are both given. Okay, so for this one we will have the magnitude v, cosine of theta will be your I, plus the magnitude v times sine of theta, j. And so you will plug those in, so we'll have the magnitude of 12 times cosine of 225, and then 12 times sine of 225, j. Good deal. Alright, so cosine of 225 is the 45-degree angle, but where does that lie? So 180, so it's going to be inside here, so it'll be a negative. So this will be a 12 times a negative square root of 2 over a 2, I, plus 12, and then sine of 225 is also going to be a negative, so it'll be a negative square root of 2 over a 2, j. So this will be a negative 6 square root of 2i, plus, that's going to actually be a minus 6 square root of 2j. And there we go. There's going to be more questions on your review, but that's just kind of a short review just to kind of refresh your memory on everything that we've done, and that will be on your test. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know. You'll have a great day.